with total debt forgiveness after a stated term of years. I teach best practices in negotiation at the 2 highest-rated universities in the United States, and I'm a licensed attorney. I know the ins and outs of bankruptcy. Now, I'm not providing legal advice, but we'll dedicate an entire section to probing things like the tyranny of the FICO score, how to beat the credit bureaus. I had a brilliant professor in college who issued this advice to those of us that were studying economics. Borrow heavily when you are young, because you will be paying back in cheaper dollars. He was right. Inflation made the student loans I took out far cheaper by the time I had to repay them. But I have that teacher beaten when it comes to advice. I say borrow heavily at any age, because you can very possibly pay back in $0. Why am I sharing these insider tips with you? Certainly, I like writing, and I want to sell a few books, but I'm really a David versus Goliath kind of guy. As my dad put it in our family, we always root for the underdog. That's my thing. The IRS, the big banks, the medical industrial complex, and others, they have plenty of clout and money, and they're used to getting their way. If I can put a pebble or two into your slingshot to lower their odds of beating you into submission, then it's my pleasure to do so. In the material that follows, you'll notice many counterintuitive insights that change the playing field to your advantage. Chapter by chapter preview. Lots of books tout the virtues of becoming debt-free. To me, that's a little too simple-minded. There are 2 kinds of debt, as you'll soon see, good and bad. You'll learn about them in Chapter 1. Obviously, you should consider each one in a different light. Bad debt is probably what you're saddled with today, so we'll invest a lot of time talking about minimizing it and zeroing it out. But good debt is an entirely different breed. What are the vital differences? We'll find out in Chapter 1. They say you don't get what you deserve in life, you get what you're able to negotiate, especially in credit card debt resolution. In Chapter 2, we're going to explore the essentials of exploiting your bargaining power. And when it comes to debt elimination, you have plenty of it. You may not feel that way at this very moment, but at the end of this chapter, you'll probably have a change of heart. Everything is negotiable. Chapter 3 sings the praises of bankruptcy as a means of zeroing out your debts and getting a fresh start. As a rule, bankruptcy gets a bad rap, especially from creditors. There's a good reason they recoil like Dracula seeing the dawn streaking through the window. Their right to collect from you will turn to ashes when you file for Chapter 7. You'll learn how this is different than Chapter 13, and you'll develop insights into bankruptcy as a possible remedy for your debt troubles and as a platform for quickly rebuilding your creditworthiness. We all know there are 2 immutable forces in life, death and taxes. I'll show you that this notion is only half true. In Chapter 4, you'll learn how to stiff the IRS. Legally, of course. There's a vital difference between tax avoidance, which legendary Judge Learned Hand said is every American's right, and tax evasion, which is what they nailed gangster Al Capone for, providing him with a glorious opportunity to die in prison. This program isn't about seizing every available deduction, and there are notably fewer since the recent changes made in the tax code by the U.S. Congress. It's about reducing or eliminating the tax debt that remains after you have incurred it and have been billed for it by the IRS. In Chapter 5, we'll turn our attention to student loan forgiveness, how to pay fewer or even $0 on your educational debts. You'll learn how student loan debt exceeds credit card debt, and it's a burden being borne by more than 40 million people. Chances are very good that you've graduated and are underemployed. This means you're laboring in a job.